All right, guys, welcome to another interview here with me, Sheena Williams from Krav Maga Salem. I am joined by John Correia from Active Self-Protection. If you are not subscribed to this YouTube channel, you are majorly missing out. If you're somebody who's interested in firearms, self-defense, and just real-world protection, you're missing out. You can stop this right now, jump over to YouTube and subscribe. There are so many ways to get involved with this company and all the educational benefits from it. I highly recommend it. John, welcome. We're so glad and excited that you agreed to come on. I've been a big fan for a long time and followed you for a long time. So yeah, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure to meet with friends and meet new friends too. So thanks.
So that being said, obviously you know that we are based out of Oregon. And for all of us Oregon nerds and Portlandiers, John actually went to school at Oregon State. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I did indeed. I am a Beaver believer. And my first big boy job was in the United States Navy. And I joined the Navy in 95 and 97. I got picked up for a commissioning program, a very competitive program. I was a nuclear reactor operator. Sounds really cool until you watch an episode of The Simpsons, right? And what Homer Simpson did is actually what I did. And I got picked up for this commissioning program, the Nuclear Enlisted Commissioning Program, and there was only 10 universities I could go to. Had to study engineering. They had to have a nuclear trained officer there. So there was only 10 of those, and the closest one to home was Oregon State. We also had the University of Washington on the list. I'm originally from the San Francisco Bay Area, but the folks at OSU, the NE department at OSU, man, they were on me like a chicken on a June bug, man. They were like, hey man, we saw that you got picked up for this program. We want you. We have a scholarship for you. We'll pay for your application fee. Like, we love you. We'll bake you a pie. Would you come and study here? And that made it real easy. And I had an aunt who lived in Albany, and so as well, so I had a little bit of family nearby. And so it was just a real easy decision. And I studied nuclear engineering at Oregon State. I had a weird total experience there. Loved it. I mean, that's back when I was there from 97 to 2000. And if people have been around a while, 2000, Oregon State was like a 4th ranked football team in the nation in 2000. Like, it was like the one time we were like, oh, TJ Houshmandzadeh's, he went on to play in the NFL and those things. And so it was this big deal, and I loved it there. Actually, my college experience was incredibly transformative to me. My wife and I had our oldest daughter in Oregon. And then I actually became a Christian in Oregon. And so while we were going to Oregon State, and then I actually ended up not finishing at Oregon State. I am one class short of a bachelor's degree at Oregon State to this day.
Oh, this day.
To this day. I could tell you the whole story if you wanted to, but just suffice it to say that once you have a master's degree, nobody cares about your bachelor's degree anymore. And so I went on and got a master's degree in an unrelated field. And so now nobody cares about that one class because of me. It's a long story, but I offended one of the professors there. And so she wouldn't let me comp out of this class that after I got rear-ended by a drunk driver in 2000, about 16 weeks before I was supposed to graduate. And so it wrecked my back, and I had problems with the Navy. And so then if I had finished my degree, the Navy would have force re-enlisted me for 5 years, and I wasn't going to allow that. And so I had to leave that one class undone. And then a couple of years later, when I tried to go back and do it and figure out a way to do it while I was getting out of the Navy, she wouldn't allow me to do it at distance. And so it all fell apart. And then 5 years later, when I went back to try to do it again, they had changed the degree requirements. And so they didn't teach that class anymore. And so I was like, well, great, why don't you just waive it and give me a degree? And they're like, we can't because your degree program requires it. And I was like, but you don't teach it anymore. So let me take something else at maybe ASU or something and put it in. No, we can't do that. And so I don't have the degree. But I'm still a Beaver till I die. My 2 favorite teams are the OSU Beavers and whoever's playing the Ducks this week.
Yes.
And, right? I mean, you got to have that going.
For those of you who don't live in Oregon, there's a massive rivalry between the Beavers and the Ducks. And if you watch any sport, you probably know who the Ducks are. Yeah.
Longest continuously played rivalry in college football today.
Yes.
So, and I always tell folks, man, you don't understand what Civil War is like if you haven't been there. Because I was in Research Stadium when it was just rocking, but God help you if you take your car down to Autzen Stadium with an OSU decal on it for Civil War, it's going to get keyed.
Yes.
Because those Eugene people, man, they're crazy.
Oh, absolutely. So my husband went to OSU. He went to school for chemical engineering. So even though I didn't go to OSU, I feel like a big part of it because I did a lot with my husband there. My brothers played football, and so they played a lot on Reser Stadium at Reser Stadium. So I mean, I feel very connected to OSU just because of that. My sister-in-law graduated from there. We're big Beaver believers around our house, except for my sister.
Right.
They're done.
I love my time there. I have great memories of there, great friends from there, some people that I've kept up with to this day. And so, nothing but great things to say about the great state of Oregon, other than the fact that y'all won't recognize my concealed carry permit, but that's not your fault.
It's not my fault, but I'm working on that with the DC project and some other stuff. We're trying. So there used to be some good reciprocity a while back, but it's since kind of been quelched, and that's frustrating for some of us who do a lot of travel like myself. So although who knows how much traveling we're going to be doing in the following weeks.
Not right now.
So speaking of concealed carry, you became a concealed carry holder back in 2006. So I mean, you've been carrying for a long time, but you didn't start active self-protection until 2011. There's obviously some time in there where you were continuing to educate yourself, found some holes, found something that was passionate to you and built on it. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, started carrying in 06. I mean, I grew up shooting. My grandpa took me hunting when I was a kid, and we had guns in the house. My dad was a big duck hunter, but he didn't really take me duck hunting. That was his time. That was kind of his thing. I should ask my mom if that was because she didn't want me around guns or whatever. But I still went to my grandparents' house in the summer. We went hunting, we went shooting. So I grew up around guns. I started carrying in 06 because I was running a video game store while I was going to graduate school to pay the bills. And the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 came out in 06. And managers, and particularly I was running a Game Crazy, and the managers were getting hurt for them. People were they were going on the resale market. Like an Xbox 360 was going for like $1,000 on eBay. And so managers were getting hurt. And I was like, nah, not me. Well, at the time, Arizona was not constitutional carry like we are now. They were shall issue though. So I went down, took my permit, bought the wrong gun, put it in the wrong holster, loaded it with the wrong ammo, put it on my hip. It was a magic talisman, a lucky rabbit's foot. About the same time, my son, who is now grown and married and lives across the country with his wife, he was a little guy, and he's like, we were homeschooling, and so he was taking karate at the local community center as his extracurricular activity. And he said, Papa, come and take karate with me. Come take karate with me. And I was like, dude, I'm going to graduate school. I'm working full time. It ain't happening, man. What about when you get out of seminary, Papa? Yeah, okay, buddy. Pat. So at my graduation, kid had strep throat, sick to the world. I've got my hood on. I've got my mortarboard. I'm feeling cool. I picked this boy up who's dead sick. He's like 6. And put him on my shoulder, and he looks up and he looks at me and says, Papa, congratulations. Are you coming to class on Tuesday? And okay, man. Yeah, you got me. Sure. And so I thought I'd do it for 6 months and just have something in common with him. And by the time he quit, so that kid, he was 6 years old then. He went straight through into high school till he was too busy with high school sports. And so that was like 6-7 years later, and we just kept going to class together and kept going to class and kept going to class. And here I am 14 years later. In fact, it's 14 years at the end of this month that I've been training, and I just fell in love with it. And I kind of have this thing, I got to be a continual learner. I always have that idea in me. And that got me started really training with handguns too, because it wasn't too long after. I mean, this is somebody who trains, you find out pretty quick, okay, I'm better than the average crackhead, but man, there are some people who know this stuff, and I keep getting my butt kicked. And then you get into bigger ponds. Maybe you go to a tournament, or you train with some other people, and then you're like, oh, I thought I was something, and these people are something, and I am nothing. Okay, so now I got to keep training. And I found the same thing with firearms. I was like, man, if I'm going to carry this firearm, I need to train with it. I need to be pretty good with it, because otherwise it's a liability to me, right? You figure every day you take that gun out of the holster and put it away in the safe, it's a risk because you're administratively handling the gun. And anytime that gun is on your person, it's a risk, because every time I'm in a fight, it's potentially a gunfight because I bring the gun. And so I better be good with it. And so I started training. I started taking some classes. And then that gets expensive. Man, all this training gets expensive. So then that's why I started the company. In fact, I didn't start the company because I had this grand idea that I was going to do it full time. I did it so I could write off ammo and write off classes. I thought, man, my core competency is teaching. My job between leaving the military or leaving retail and taking active self-protection full-time, I pastored a church in the Valley for 14 years. And so my core competency is teaching. So I was like, well, I've always had an entrepreneurial streak. We've always had a side hustle. So I'll start the company just so I can write off ammo in classes, and then I'll teach a few classes, maybe make a few bucks, and that'll let me buy guns, buy ammo, pay for my classes maybe occasionally. And then it just kind of the next thing and next thing and next thing. And now I'm running the company solo. So
Well, and it's such a fantastic company, and it does so much, and it reaches out to so many different people of different backgrounds and really opens eyes. I've been such a big fan, and I tell all of my members to go take a look, and I actually give them homework. I'll post up specific videos, and I'm like, all right, here it is. Let's talk about this. This was part of class the other day, and so we'll use those as training tools inside my classes. So again, it's such a powerful tool that you're building. I'm so
thank you.
I'm so excited to have you on and talk a little bit more about it. Being an entrepreneur and having kind of made this transition in so many ways, and being somebody who's continually growing, what have you found to be kind of the biggest challenge in that time from moving from retail into doing this full time?
Well, I mean, there was two challenges there. So I moved from retail into full-time vocational pastoring. I did it part-time for a while. I kind of have this thing where, other than when I got out of the military, which, it's kind of an all or nothing endeavor, I've kind of always had a side hustle. In this fact, this last couple of years, I haven't had one, and I'm kind of like feeling itchy. But so I pastored after that for a while. I taught at a local college for a while. I was a professor for 9 years part-time, running that adjunct life as well. And so I've always kind of had my hand in multiple things. And getting into the firearms world was interesting because I kind of made this niche out of nothing. This thing where people send me real life surveillance videos and I do after action reports on them of defensive encounters. Just didn't exist, and nobody was doing it. And so when I started doing it on a fluke, I could tell you that whole story if you wanted, it became this thing, right? And so what happened is that what really went down is so I'm pastoring a church, and I love that. And I resigned my pastorate February of 2018, just to focus on the business full time. And quite frankly, running a nonprofit drove me nuts. I love being a shepherd, but I'll never work at a church again unless Jesus picks me up and shakes me bodily and makes me do it. Even then, we'd fight about it. But he, when I was started getting into self-defense and firearms in 06, 07, 08, kind of the blue-haired ladies from church on my Facebook weren't really excited about me sharing self-defense stuff on Facebook. And then Facebook started allowing, I think in 2013, they started allowing business pages. And so I was like, cool, I'll just form a business page, and then that way I can put all that content over there. And then that kind of blew up. I just share articles from anywhere I found them, where I was reading and training and learning and educating myself, and videos and those things. And okay, cool. And so then I'll never forget the first time somebody from Ohio commented on something on the Active Self-Protection Facebook page. I was like, what in the world is somebody from Ohio interested in what I have to say? But okay, cool, man. I mean, I'll just educate them where they are. I'll try to make stuff that's not just Phoenix, but is nationwide and helpful for people. So that went on for a while. And then I started making memes. Facebook was big on memes for a while. And I don't mean memes like we think about them today in terms of goofiness, but they were rewarding photo content. And so I started using Photoshop to make high quality ones, with good pictures, and then defensive messages, and like a quality picture with a quality quote from somebody or something like that for people to share around and be encouraged in their self-defense. And the Facebook page really grew, got up to 100,000 or maybe 60, 70,000 subscribers. And then Facebook started allowing video content, and they wanted to compete a little bit in that video space. And I didn't really think much about it, but then somebody sent me a video of a real life knife attack that some guy shivved his baby mama. And you can dig back if you have the courage. You can go in the videos tab on the Ask Facebook page, dig all the way to the bottom, and you can find it. There's 600-700 videos there, so best of luck to you. And so all the way at the bottom, and I'll never forget, because I was like, whoa, that was crazy. That was 2014. And I took that to my martial arts teacher. So I'm a student of Lawrence Robinson, the student of Skip Hancock, the student of Ed Parker, and Senior Grandmaster Ed Parker is the founder of American Kempo, guy that owned the first commercial martial arts school in America and in California. So Professor Robinson, he's currently a 7th degree black belt. Kempo's weird, though. I know your Krav Maga is a little different belting system, right? In Kempo, there's a bajillion people wandering around with 10th degrees. It's like they give them out like candy in some respects, but I'll tell you, Professor Robinson Lawrence, he's a good friend of mine, and I could call him and he'd move heaven and earth for me. and I wouldn't fight him. I have fought him several times. He got my butt whooped. He fought on ESPN. He's a international champion, like full contact karate, full contact kickboxing. Dude's a bad dude. Like, people say, how would you fight Professor Robinson? With a baseball bat and surprise. That's how I'd fight him. As long as he wasn't armed, I'd be okay. But I brought it to him, and I was like, this video of this guy shivving his girlfriend, and I was like, Lawrence, what do we do? Like, I think I was a green belt at the time, kind of middle of the road. It's like green belt in Kempo is like the very middle. It's like the cream of the crap, you know, the middle, the bottom of the top of the bottom. And so I was like, I've missed it. I haven't seen what we do against this in my 5 years of study with you or whatever, 7 years of study. And he was like, you know, let's workshop that. Let's just see what we need to do, because I don't know that we have that particular attack thought about in the system. Like a lot of martial arts, you know, it's like the guy goes and sticks the knife out there and just sits there and waits for you to beat the tar out of him. It's kind of no actual resistance, kind of no actual intent, you know, and those things, no pressure testing. And so we did, and I was like, wow, that was really useful. Like we used this, what happened to somebody, to inform our training. Well, that's kind of cool. So then I posted it to the Facebook page. Hey guys, watch this. This is how a real knife attack goes. Like, and it blew up. Like it was like, oh wow. So then what happened from there was I started typing little descriptions in. I'd post it and I'd be like, hey, think about this. You know, here's a self-defense principle in here in the descriptions. Then somebody sent me one that was like 5 minutes long. It was ridiculous. It was like 4 minutes and 30 seconds of nothing and then 30 seconds of action. And I was like, dude, I got to find a way to cut that out. And I knew I had a program on my laptop that I could edit video, but I know how to use it. So to the YouTubes, right? And how to use Adobe Premiere, go. And I watched the basic tutorial. And in that basic tutorial, it included a couple things. And one of them was how to record audio in Premiere. And I had a laptop up and I was like, oh, I wonder if that works. Click, yeah, here, this. Hey, look, my voice is on there. I was like, well, instead of typing it in the descriptions, I could just put it on here and make it audio. And I'd be like, the John Madden of on-camera violence. That would be kind of cool. Well, let's try it and see how it goes. So I did one and it was like, whoa, people were like, holy cow, you know, this is amazing. And this is totally life-changing. And I was like, oh, okay, so let's do a couple of those. So I started doing them and the Facebook page went bazonkers. And it was a couple years after that so that was in October of 2014 that we started doing videos on the Facebook page. And it wasn't until April of 2016, I had a YouTube channel, but I didn't really do anything with it. I had a couple of videos on it, old stock and stuff like that. And then I got an email from Google that was like, hey, you can monetize your YouTube channel if you want. You meet the requirements. You got a couple thousand subscribers and, you know, you're getting a few views on it. So you can. I was like, well, that's like walking down the street and finding $5 bills lying around. Why wouldn't you say that? Yeah, like, go ahead. And then I had all these videos. We had several hundred that we put on Facebook by then. And I said, well, I got this old stock. I could put some of these over here on the YouTube channel and see how they do. And that was the pivotal moment. Like it was from April until August. By August, I was had gone from ASP being something where I'd occasionally make a buck here and there to making some significant money. And then so that was through the end of 16. 17, beginning of 17, ASP became my full-time job, and my pastor became my part-time job, and it's just blown up from there. 18, ASP became my solo job. And today we have 1.63 million subscribers on the big channel. We have a second channel too, where I teach every day of the week. It's Active Self-Protection Extra here. Hopefully this week we'll crack 100,000 subscribers on Aspects, which would be awesome. And the Facebook page is humming right along, almost 300,000 likes on the Facebook page. And so I make my living on social media, which is kind of weird, but we get to teach literally millions of people every month. And sometimes when I tell people, you know, it's the most viewed YouTube channel in the world in the self-defense space, and people go, what? You're not bigger than Hickok 45. And I'm like, wow, I consider Hickok a gun channel, not a self-defense channel. No offense to him. But even that, I usually get more views every month than Hickok, even though he's got 5 million some odd subscribers. Good for him on that. And or Demolition Ranch, you know, Matt's got 7.6 million subs or something crazy like that. But a lot of months we get more views than he does because they're very compelling. They show real life. So now I'm known. I'm kind of the known subject matter expert on how real life criminal violence happens. And
oh, absolutely.
It's a weird place to be.
That's how I came to find you. So my background is working private security, and I've been attacked by people with edged weapons and all sorts of different tools. And something had come up on a group page somewhere, or somebody was like, "Oh, look at this guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about." And I was like, "Well, let me watch." and you did know what you were talking about. I've been in those situations enough to know as you were going through, I was like, he's spot on. Who's this Yahoo saying that he doesn't know what he's talking about? So then I kind of course, went down the rabbit hole and started listening to more of what you were dealing with. And of course, because of my background, I'd been in hostage situations. I'd had multiple people try and stab me. I'd had significantly larger people try and stab me, attack me, do all sorts of nasty things. I've been choked on the job, all sorts of stuff. I could go on for stories for days. But the more I watched you, the more accurate your what you were telling people was. And so I think I unfriended that person because I didn't know what they were talking about. But
it's a big internet and everybody has an opinion, and there's very few of it is the way. There's a lot of a way, and like, hey, if you don't like me, I get it. I think I'm an idiot sometimes too. Go find somebody you like better. It's cool.
But yeah, no, I think that's one of the things that's best about your channel is that you offer so many realistic situations. I mean, they're not made up, they're not created, they're not whatever. These are situations that have actually happened. And people get to see how actual violence is done. And it's not just somebody's word. They can see it with their own eyes. They can see it locally. They can see it internationally. They can see it a little bit of everywhere, because especially in a dojo, you get so many people who go, well, it happens like this, or it happens over here. It only happens there.
Yes.
Where this is stuff you can't deny. It's right in front of your face. You can tag where it's from. You know, it's from Florida, of course, right? Or wherever it might be.
Florida man.
But, you know, I think that's really beneficial. And I think it forces people who are specifically only in one camp or the other, martial arts or gun, to really understand you need both. You absolutely need both, right? Because depending on the situation, which you don't get to dictate, you know, one tool might be more prevalent than the other depending on use of force. So, and understanding that and why it's that way, I mean, is super important. Digging into some of the laws, especially here in the United States, when we have so many different laws, of, you know, just across counties, let alone country,
states, yeah.
Countries. I think it's really important that you guys highlight so much of that, and it's, like I said, it's so beneficial. With the huge, I mean, as you guys have just exploded, you guys are also doing some other big things. What are some of the big things you guys have coming up that you're really excited about?
Yeah, the last couple of years, we've done what we call your Cover Your ASP tour, where we go around the country and we teach live classes. Now, of course, we're not doing that right this minute with, you know, the sheltering in place and the social distancing and those things, but we'll resume those once it's safe to do so, where we travel all around the country and we teach handgun classes mostly. Also, we will be beginning here doing some carbine stuff pretty quick, because a lot of people are really starting to really think about that for home defense, which is cool. So we teach live classes, seminars, church safety, especially big deal to me. And then we just started in February, our first cohort for our instructor certification program. And now this is a different program. So I have all kinds of instructor certs. When I got really after this and decided this was going to be my career, I am a training junkie. So I have about 1,000 hours in gun school right now. But my background, like I said, I was an educator. I taught college for 9 years, taught graduate school for 5. I was a pastor for 14 years. So education is my core. It's really who I am. And so I come at this from that perspective. And most firearms instructors and firearms instructor certifications are really shooting tests. So, and I say that with great respect, okay? I have nothing but respect for all of the firearms instructor. I mean, I've taken stuff. I'm an NRA certified instructor in all their disciplines. I am a 6-hour Academy certified instructor. I am a shootingperformance.com, Mike Seeklander and Rich Brown firearms instructor. I am not just a Rangemaster certified firearms instructor and not just a Rangemaster advanced handgun instructor. I'm a Rangemaster master firearms instructor. I'm the core, the plank owner group of the master firearms instructors. And I'm grateful for all of that. Most of that is teaching you how to shoot and teaching you how to shoot better, because there's a real lack. I see a lot of people as firearms instructors can't shoot very well. And you're like, dude, it's not that athletic an endeavor. That'd be like you know, at your Krav Maga school, right? And you're like, yeah, I can't do it, but I'm teaching. You're like, dude, like, are you kidding me right now? So you got that covered. What we decided, though, what I really found was a place that was not well represented was teaching those people who are firearms instructors how to teach, and teaching them the art of instruction, and teaching them things like, when I ask a firearms instructor and say, so tell me, how do you ensure validity in your curriculum? How do you assess student learning outcomes? How do you design your curriculum, and how do you manage your classroom and your range to ensure student learning outcomes? How do you measure student learning outcomes? And all those words, and they go, oh, words, you're using words. Those are English words, but I don't know what they mean. And so they just don't have that background. They don't understand curriculum design, and they don't understand drill design, and they don't understand student learning and adult learning modalities. They don't understand chunking and myelination. They don't understand physical skill development, just because they've never been taught. They just feel like, because my background when I come out of the military, right, the guy who did the thing is now the teacher of the thing. And so go do the thing. And then, I joke that when you get your knife hand out, and if I'm kind in words and all right, listen up, you effers, and that's the call to order. And you go, that's great in the military. I get it, man. But you can't really do that in the civilian world. People are paying you money. That gets a little dicey. Some places they do, but I don't. So we thought teaching teachers how to teach is a big deal. And so we just started our first cohort February 1st. The first cohort is killing it. We have a second cohort coming up later this year. So you work together with 20 to 30 other instructors, and we have you read 5 books, and none of them are firearms related. But we teach you how to teach. First book is called What the Best College Teachers Do. Another book called Talent Ain't Training. Several others as well. The Talent Code, where you learn the art of actually making good stuff. Yeah, it's just just like, oh, hey, this is why we're doing what we're doing. Hello. So we make them go through those and then ingest them. And then how is this going to affect the way that you teach? And so we teach learners, and we teach them how to be continual learners and how to get continuing education. So it's a 6-month program, and most of it's from home. Most of it's in your area. You're going to be writing several, you call them a book report if you want, an after reading review that interacts with other students and is peer reviewed by other students and interacts with them on what they got, what you got, those things. Then we come together for one weekend, but I'm not teaching during that weekend. During that weekend, you're teaching, the students are teaching, and you get, so if you have, say, 15 in your weekend cohort, you're going to get like 16 or 17 pieces of feedback on your 45-minute lesson. That is written feedback. It has a very particular design to help you get better. And then you're going to give 13, 14 other critiques that says, here's what you did well, here's what you can improve on, here's how your teaching went. It's not about the curriculum, it's about how you're doing things. So I'm really excited about it. The ASP Instructor Certification Program is a big deal. It's being run by my good friend Samuel Middlebrook, who is the Director of Instructional Development at Active Self-Protection. We started this little thing in my bedroom, and we now have 7 employees. And I'm like, how did we get here? Like, wait, this is like a grown-up business. So yeah, that's the big thing that's coming here in 2020, and we're the most excited about.
And it's just a fantastic program. I love that you're really focusing on teaching the teachers how to teach. That's just something we need more of, and I think that's fantastic. And I know I emailed with Samuel back and forth just to understand more about the program that you're offering and kind of what that all entails. And he was so fast about getting back to me and making sure he answered all my questions in detail. I mean, you can tell that he's very, very excited about the program, extremely knowledgeable. I just think your team is just so invested in the best of ways. It's going to be, I mean, it's just, you're setting everybody up for success. I'm really excited to see where this program goes.
Thank you.
On that note, you talked a little bit about, your continued training and how you kind of progressed. I mean, you've started in one place and kind of gone to a lot of different places, which is fantastic. But you're a tall guy, you're a very strong guy, you've got some great firearm skills, you've got 14 years in martial arts, you're now involved in this it sounds like a love-hate relationship sometimes with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
You gotta love ibuprofen, man. You're always hurt. Like in my 40s, everything's broken all the time.
Wasn't there recently a situation with a guest, or maybe you popped into a school and worked with a professor somewhere else, and there became some hilarity from that? I remember seeing something on your Facebook. I don't remember exactly.
I love training everywhere I go, right? Like I'm happy to go and train. We went down to Brazil, and I was down there visiting one of my sponsors, MagTech. And so, of course, if you're in Sao Paulo, Brazil, you gotta show up at Allianz, right? That's Fabio Gigel's school. I mean, he's a world champion, and they make world champions. And like one of the guys that works at MagTech or at CBC rolls there. And so I'm rolling with this guy, and you come to realize, oh, he's a 2-time Brazilian national champion. And he's rolling with me. I'm a white belt, no nothing. And so he's treating me like a kid. Look at this kitty. Oh, so nice. And I just got my butt handed to me. And it's super fun. And I was out in Thailand. So I went and visited some friends of ours who are missionaries in Thailand. They work rescuing underage girls from sex slavery. And he rolls out there, and I was rolling with their coach, who's a great guy, a Brazilian, high-level competitor. And so he's playing with me for 4 minutes, right? So if you've ever rolled in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, at the end, we call it a roll. It's a competitive match, right? So you're trying to gain position and then submission for 4 or 5 minutes, depending on what you're doing. And of course, I'm a white belt. He's a black belt. He's playing with me for 4 minutes, just utterly playing with me. And then John looks at the clock and he goes, 1 minute. And you saw George look at the clock and like, okay, it's on now. I'm gonna choke this white belt out a few times, right? And so I was like, ah, and no kidding, man. So I tried to pass his guard, and I'm a big guy. I was bigger than him, heavier than him. And as I did, instead of like just kind of shucking my shoulder like I was trying to pass his leg, I shucked it with my elbow and I popped him in his jaw and I busted a tooth clean out of his head. So not exactly what you want to do is to go to somebody's jiu-jitsu school and bust the coach in the face and break a tooth out of his head. And now, I mean, some people were like, well, John, that's his responsibility. He should have been wearing his mouth guard. And I always wear a mouth guard when I roll because I, make money with this space. And so I don't want to be like Jethro from the Beverly Hillbillies. But at the same time, this guy's living in Thailand and teaching jiu-jitsu as an outreach to the local kids, and he ain't got that kind of money. So we took him down and got his tooth fixed, and it cost me $1,000 to figure this stuff out. And I'm like, oh gosh, man, this is terrible. I'm never invited to roll back at that jiu-jitsu school because George is just gonna walk up and punch me in the face.
That is such a fantastic story. That's amazing. That being said, I mean, as we're talking about, you continually train, you continually grow, as a tall guy with a lot of strength and a lot of skill sets, what is it that motivates you to continue to learn and continue to grow and continue to train without getting that attitude that so many people get? They have one or two skill sets. Oh, I was in the military. I have my concealed. I don't need anything else.
I really think it starts and ends with, first of all, a quest for knowledge, is that we're never done growing and learning. But I think even more than that, the example that's been set for me. My teacher, Lawrence Robinson, who I respect so much, and in every area of life, he's just really good. And Lawrence is a 7th degree black belt, and he's been teaching for 43 years. And I catch that guy right now going to Kali seminars, and he's not a Filipino martial artist. And I go, what are you doing? He goes, I don't know, I just thought it'd be fun. I want to learn some knife stuff. And so it's an area I'm not familiar with. So I just go to this other guy on the other side of the valley who's an expert, and I'm just going to take his seminars this weekend. So y'all have fun. And I was like, dude, this guy who could walk into any school anywhere in the world and have great respect and he just shows up, no belt, no nothing, just a plain gi and a white belt. And I'm like, dude, okay. And then same thing, like, I want to be able to protect myself. That's my biggest thing. And so 13 years of study in UMAS, which is a derivative of Kempo. We've kind of let some of those, and if you got any Kempoists who are listening, we have let the techniques go. The techniques are owned by Ed Parker and his family. So we let those go and kept the principles. So made it a principle-based art instead of a technique-driven art. And so that we had to let the name go with it, because people who are Kempoists who show up, they go, but this isn't Kempo. Yeah, exactly. So UMAS stands for Universal Martial Arts Sciences. We're trying to just learn and grow. And 13 years of doing that, mostly a standing art. The base is maneuvering with your feet, using your hands to defend yourself. Some groundwork, but really rudimentary, mostly staying on your feet or getting up. And I realized that left a big hole. That just left this huge hole. So if somebody, the bad guy gets a vote, right? You watch the main channel and you see the bad guy gets a vote, and not every fight goes to the ground, but when they do, they're real bad. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to be stuck in that spot and go, what do I do now? So, and then at Attitude First, where I study, we have a world champion jiu-jitsuka who teaches jiu-jitsu twice a week. Josh Stockman is a no-gi world champ and a world's champ, and you're like, this guy really knows what he's doing, and he's a heck of a teacher. And competed in internationals and karate and those things, and a heck of a nice guy. And so I was like, man, I'm gonna go over and roll with Josh for a year and just get some knowledge and some training. And I'm at almost a year right now, and it's just fun. You said love hate, and it is love hate, because you always come home and you're like, oh, everything hurts, and what's wrong with me? And that guy choked me out of this way. But it's just fun to go learn and be among your friends and have a good time and not worry about your ego. The fun part of I think of jiu-jitsu for me is that, especially as a white belt, man, and I'm a 1-stripe white belt right now. Okay, I've gone a year, 1-stripe white belt, and you just get your butt whipped all day long. You just get worked. And a guy or a gal, I have a friend, Candace Stump, and she is a high-level purple belt. She's got a brown belt waiting for her, and I'm probably 100 pounds heavier than she is. And it is literally, if I use every bit of strength I have and every bit of dirty tricks, I can mostly keep her from submitting me, mostly. Not all, not all. Okay. Mostly. And that is me just fighting with every bit of my being to not get submitted. I'm not threatening her. I'm not, she's not scared of me. She's just wondering, oh, there it is. There's the thing. Oh, I'm going to choke him here. No. Okay. He got it. Okay. Next one. And geez. So it's a beautiful thing because it does. Size matters. They have weight classes for a reason.
Yeah.
But if you are highly skilled, it don't matter near as much as you think. Because I get choked out by 160-pound guys all the time.
Yep. Oh, so absolutely.
It's mostly that's what it really is. It's a quest for excellence. I think also there's some, not pressure in a bad way, but pressure in a good way that says, look, if I'm going to teach people and say you need to be able to do this, then I got to be eating what I'm cooking. I got to be smoking what I'm selling. And so I have to be good at it. There's always this thing in the back of my mind that some idiot is going to go, oh, that guy talks a big game and he says he can defend himself, and I'm going to go get a drink of that and see what happens. And of course I don't want that. I'm a man of peace. I'm a lover, not a fighter. So I'd rather just apologize if I can, get out of that fight by, shaking somebody's hand, or I guess bowing right now, or saluting. We're not touching each other. But if I, God forbid, had to, I feel pretty good in a fight, standing or on the ground with most people.
Well, that's awesome. I'm of the same mindset. We want to avoid that as much as possible. We actually used to have shirts that we would wear to class pretty regularly that said violent when necessary, right?
Right.
Only when necessary, not all the time, right? We don't walk around with an ego and okay, I know this skill set, whatever. And just like you, in that mindset of continually being ready for, whatever situation, wherever that situation might take us, because, we just don't know. And I think that's an important part that you highlight, especially in your videos, is, it doesn't matter, man, woman, child, size, strength, stature, skill set, whatever, right? Anybody, anywhere could be attacked at any time, given the right situation. And I think that's an important thing for people to remember. It's great if you have one or two skill sets. That doesn't cover the whole spectrum. So, complacency and too much ego in ourselves can get us really in a lot of bad situations that we can't find ourselves out of. On that note, you talked a little bit about some of the folks that you've trained with. I mean, the amount of people from different backgrounds. I mean, Masad Ayub, Doug Marcaida, Tatiana Whitlock. There's the group of people. That just you list of people that you've trained with are so vast and extensive, from different areas of self-defense and hand-to-hand combat and firearms. We could sit here and talk about all those people all day, but my big, really burning question is, with all of those big names, who surprised you most by delivering more?
Okay, that's a great question. And I would say, of everybody, if you go on my bio on my website, I list some of the more influential folks that I've trained under, who I consider to be mentors, and those things. And I live a charmed life. To get to train under all these people is something else. And some you've learned more from and some less, but the one who has over-delivered, I think the class that is the sleeper in there, is a guy who's not far from you. And his name is Gabe White. And Gabe White's pistol shooting solutions class is unbelievable. Like the amount of information you get there is mind-boggling. So first of all, watching Gabe work, the guy from concealment can get 7-yard A-zone hits from concealment in 0.7 seconds all day, and just hammer A's. And Gabe is he looks just like a dad. He's got like a dad bod, but he's a martial artist as well. And also the funny part is he does EDM beats on the side for fun. He's just the weirdest guy, and he's so fun, and teaches very well. So I would definitely put Gabe up there as over-deliver like crazy. I think if you want to learn appendix carry, of all the guys that I have trained with appendix carry and red dot, Scott Jedlinski over-delivers like crazy. Those classes you will get a lot out of. Scott is probably the best diagnostician I've ever seen. So in other words, what I mean by that is, a lot of people say, well, just do this. But then if they don't know what you're doing and they go, wait, you're doing this, and why are you doing this? Because Scott is a martial artist as well. And I find that the guys and gals who come to the shooting sports through the martial arts, they understand body mechanics, and they understand physiology and human learning in a way that a lot of pure firearms folks don't understand. Now, I'm not disparaging firearms folks, and I'm not saying just because they're just firearms people that they don't know those things. I know some guys who are incredible teachers in that arena. But Scott definitely has a way to diagnose I also think if I had a third to put in there, and I know I'm going to have 10 friends who are mad at me because they didn't make this list, and I could list 100 of them. Probably the best teacher of firearms in America, in my opinion, the best at transferring information and knowledge and skills to students is Brian Hill from the Complete Combatant and Fusion MMA. Brian is, first of all, one of the finest human beings you'll ever meet. Second of all, he is able to transfer information and teach in a way that is open and accessible to students, but very technical when you get to those technical levels. Heck of a competitor as well, and in jiu-jitsu, as well as MMA, as well as shooting sports. So walks the walk as well. And so when you're talking about when it's time to learn, when I want to do something, one of the first people I'll call is Brian. When I go, hey, Brian, can I send you a video or something? Can you help me diagnose this problem? Or Scott, Gabe as well. So those would be the three that you're like, man, those guys, if they're in your area, don't hesitate. Take the class.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I really greatly appreciate your time coming here and chatting with us, spending some time talking about just all the amazing things that you're doing over at Active Self Protection and how it's continuing to grow, and you're educating everybody. I mean, not just here in the U.S., but internationally, and it's just such a great program. I know you guys also have a Patreon page.
Yeah, so we don't do Patreon, but I do have a patron membership program on my website. So I looked at it, and Patreon, I don't like how they kind of disallow contact between or understanding who your users are. So I'm like, nah, it's just another social media platform to manage. I'm good. So we do that on our website, and that's a crazy thing. A lot of people have asked me that, like, John, why don't you put your content behind a paywall? And because it's worth something, and you could make a ton more money if you did that. And that might be true, but I prefer to give it away. I prefer to tell people these are the realities of things. And if you want to contribute because you want to help me pay the staff, I would be super grateful for that, but it's yours to have for nothing.
I think that's really awesome. I think that adds a whole lot of value in its own. Aside from all the stuff we've talked, is there anything that you're really excited coming up, or things that you can share with our listeners that they can look for you at soon, or stuff that you're
excited about? A lot of the events coming up got canceled, because of that stuff. I was supposed to be this weekend at the USCCA Expo, the NRA annual meetings. I was actually asked to be one of the keynote trainers. They were actually doing classes this year at the NRA annual meeting. So we'll see that. The big one, I would say, in September, we have our Active Self Protection National Conference. We are doing our third national conference at Tallgrass Shooting Sports in Manhattan, Kansas, September 25th, 26th, 27th this year. It's the last weekend in September. Hopefully everything will be kind of over by then and we can all get together. That would be great. That's not the best part of that. It is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 days of training. Handguns, classroom, rifles, shotguns this year. We are going to have some mats to do some empty-handed skills training. I am hoping to get some simunitions and set up a shoot house so that we can do some force-on-force evolutions for people, which would be tons of fun. It's all to benefit the Flint Hills Foster Teen Camp. So we try to Mike and Lisa Irvin, who own Tallgrass Shooting Sports and the Flint Hills Foster Teen Camps, they bring teens in who are abused and abandoned foster teens. And they give them hope and purpose and help them to make it in this life. If you're a teen in the foster system, your chances of going to college are about 4%. Your chances of being homeless are about 35% at some time in your life. Your chances of substance abuse are about 25 to 30%. It's just a terrible handicap on life. And Mike and Lisa give these kids hope. And so when we do our national conference, you don't actually pay me a penny and I don't see a penny of it. You make a donation to the Flint Hills Foster Teen Camp. And so then therefore your donation, it's $600 to come for the whole weekend. And that pays for one foster teen to attend a week of summer camp. And it also donates some to Homes for Hope, which the kids who age out of the foster system, about 40% of them are homeless instantly. And so Mike and Lisa take those kids in and they give them a home and they teach them life skills and they help them get into college and get a job and get on their feet and get an apartment. Incredible stuff. And so we do the national conference fully. 100% of all proceeds go to the Flint Hills Foster Teen Camp. So come and join us, and you can find that on our website. It's a ton of fun. Last year we had 115 students and about 35 staff. Some of the best instructors you could possibly get around. You get blocks of instruction from guys like AJ Zito, who is just an incredible firearms instructor and a custom gun builder. You get guys like Dave Laird, the owner of DCS Training here in Phoenix. You get Samuel Middlebrook from Active Self Protection, and Neil Widener, and just so many trainers to list. Chuck Haggard from Agile Consulting and Training comes and does his incredible stuff. We had Terry Johnson from Firearms Legal Protection this last year. We had Brian Hill came and taught there. So that's one of the ways that you can come and train under Brian, as well as his wife, Stephanie. Candace Stump, my friend, came and taught some jiu-jitsu. The amount of instructors and the really high level of instruction that you get there is really second to none. And all the benefit and do a good cause. So come and join us.
Wow, that is so fantastic. That's I love how passionate you are about that. And it's a great cause. We're gonna definitely have to link up some information on how to find all that. Obviously, your website, your YouTube channel, your Facebook, all that kind of stuff. We'll go ahead and link here in the comments. But again, I want to thank you for coming and talking with us. And yes, keep doing what you're doing. It's greatly appreciated. And it's a great training tool for those of us who are teachers.
Well, thank you so much, and really appreciate the encouragement.
All right. We'll talk again soon. And all you listeners and followers, stay tuned. We've got more coming for you.